reportedly had to quit his job as a New York City cop 11 years ago for beating up another wife. Neighbors say Eddie and the missing woman fought a lot.
And the gentleman fighting here a couple of days ago, I've heard him fighting constantly in the past few weeks.
Eddie Coello called 911 and told police that Tina left the house after they got into a big fight on Friday night. A neighbor says he heard yelling that evening, but friends say Tina left her car behind, which she'd never do. Plus, they insist she'd never leave her 4 kids. The youngest one is only 5. The New York Post says cops are looking at surveillance video that allegedly shows the husband leaving the apartment building with a big trash bag or several bags. What might have been in those bags? Is this beautiful? Look at this beautiful woman, the latest casualty in the war on women. Call me, 1-877-JAM says, 1-877-586-7297, straight out to In Session correspondent Gene Casares with our sister station, True TV. Gene, even cops are saying this doesn't look good. What are you hearing tonight?
Well, that's right. Police actually executed another search warrant at the couple's apartment today, looking for evidence. They are calling the husband a person of interest, but he is saying, look, we got into an argument and she walked out. She was upset and she left. I think the video surveillance from the apartment is going to be very important. The timeline that we have it, a friend saw her at the gym at 4 p.m. The neighbor and landlord heard screaming at 8 p.m. But at 9 o'clock, it appears as though video surveillance from the apartment showed her leaving the complex.
Well, look, the Bronx is an area where really you need a car to get around unless you're near a subway. And the friend said she didn't take the subway. She took her car when she left. Her car is there, according to published reports. Now, Tina's landlord told the New York Post that the ex-cop husband, Eddie Coello, beat up Tina on at least 2 occasions, once in 2006, the year they were married, and again in 2007. Neighbors don't seem to like this Eddie Coello fella much. Listen to this.
She's like my daughter, really, with the kids also. By him, he's very strange.
Tina's ex-husband, Joe Adovasio, told the New York Post that Tina got a protective order against Eddie Coello. The ex claims Coello broke Tina's jaw and gave her 2 black eyes, and she needed stitches. Now, the New York Post says Coello had to retire from the police force 11 years ago over a domestic incident involving a previous wife. But nowhere can we see Mike Brooks, HLN law enforcement analyst, that this Eddie Coello fellow was prosecuted or served any time in jail.
No, Jane, but he didn't retire. He had to resign. He didn't have enough time to retire, which says to me, you can have an allegation of domestic violence against you, but they usually don't make you quit unless there's a conviction, because you cannot be a law enforcement officer and carry a gun with a domestic violence conviction anywhere in the United States. Now, talk about vehicles. His vehicle, law enforcement, right after he made the report, they said, hey, can we go ahead and take a look at your 2010 Nissan Maxima? He says, no, you're not going to. But Tuesday, they found his car, and they got a search warrant to search it. So it's going to be very important, as Gene was talking about, what they find inside of the apartment and what they may have also found inside of his car.
Well, listen, we have tried to reach him and his attorney without success. We left messages for the attorney. He and or his attorney invited on any time to tell their side of the story. But I got to wonder, going back to Mike Brooks, let's say if something happened to her in the apartment and she was removed forcibly from the apartment or removed when she was already deceased, there would be blood spatter in that apartment, would there not?
There may be, and that's one of the things you look at, first of all, when you go to a scene of a missing person or anything else, is any kind of sign of a struggle. Now, he may have tried to clean it up, but always keep in mind, you saw the crime scene van from NYPD there at the apartment. I guarantee you that they were using alternate light sources, possibly luminol inside, to see if there was any blood. Now, they're not saying much, but they did track her cell phone down, Jane, and they found her cell phone with pings in 2 different locations.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, we're going to get to that because we have a Google map for you. The missing woman, Tina Adovasio, lived with her 4 kids in a 3rd-floor apartment in the Bronx, which is a borough of New York City, right there, right outside Manhattan. There it is, the Bronx. The New York Daily News reports investigators tracked Tina's cell phone and got hits in 2 areas, Morris Heights and High Bridge. Okay, that is about 6 miles from Tina's home in the Bronx. They got those hits on Monday. So, she was last seen Friday. They get these cell phone pings and hits 6 miles from her apartment on Monday. Deborah Opry.
The phone hasn't been used. The phone hasn't been used, has it? The phone has not been used, has it? No, they don't. Jane, this is what I'm saying as a family law attorney. We must continually in abusive relationships. She took a step by getting a protective order, but let's get a prosecution here. And what was she doing in his company after this man beat her to the degree he did prior? As far as her absenteeism since Friday, the timeline is very important. What you also have to look at is he said no to looking at the car. Did it get washed? Where was he? And I'll say it again, that video is going to be very telling as to who went and who came. And I can only say that this, unfortunately, may be sounding like another Scott Peterson case.
Oh, we're going to get to that in a second. Your mom, neighbors say Tina and Eddie still lived at their apartment on and off, and that brings me to a big issue, as Deborah Opry just said. Are women sleeping with the enemy? Intimate partner violence is one of the leading causes of death for women in this country. Now, we pray that this woman is found alive, but the cops say it doesn't look good. When are we going to learn that we cannot trust our own instincts? Because a woman's instinct is primarily to forgive and give second chances, and that often puts a woman in harm's way. Women sometimes fall for charm and profuse apologies and flowers, okay? If a man has a history of domestic violence, a woman must be counterintuitive, go against her instinct to forgive and give a second chance, and get out early. Michelle Golland, a clinical psychologist, the key is not to wait till a volatile moment like a big fight erupts to try to leave. To leave, as they say in the stock market, if you're going to panic, panic early, get out.
Right.
Absolutely after the first incident.
Yeah, well, and Jane, you hit on a few points that are so important, that abusers are very good at charming their victims back into the relationship. And the other thing that needs to be pointed out here is that she had done a protective order and she was taking the steps. But we know in domestic violence that the most dangerous time for the woman is when she decides to leave.
Of course.
And if she's taking action, but once you make the decision that you're leaving and you're filing for divorce, you do anything and everything to never be alone with the abuser.
Don't let them know until you're in a safe zone. Don't be in a danger zone and say, hey, I'm leaving you and I'm going to get a divorce. Get to a safe place and then have an attorney convey that message. Sean, Ohio, your question or thought, sir?
Yeah, my question is, the guys beat this lady before, and I got a sister and 4 brothers, and to me, they're going to spend a lot of money on this guy. They've already know he's beat her before. I say they put the guy in a room with some of her family members with a rubber hose, 5 minutes, and know exactly what happened to the girl.
Well, you know what? We have those impulses, but this is the United States. It's not another third world country where that kind of thing happens all the time, because when you open that door, the chances are that one day soon somebody who's innocent is hit with a rubber hose. So we don't want to go there, but I can understand your passion. All right, more on this beautiful missing mom, who happens to be a nurse, by the way, in just a bit. We're taking your calls on this. 1-877-JVM says. Plus later, dark